The Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission is now expected to file its responses on the presidential elections petitions lodged, where the electoral body is accused of bungling the process and unfairly awarding victory to UDA presidential candidate William Ruto. Among concerns raised include whether or not the IEBC chair undermined the constitution by excluding 4 commissioners in the tallying and the eventual announcement of the winner, and whether the IEBC system was infiltrated to favor the overall winner of the election. Chebukati tells us more.
In 13 days, the 7-judge Supreme Court bench will have to determine whether or not Deputy President William Ruto was validly elected as president in the closely contested August 9th election. Ahead of the status conference slated for Tuesday next week, respondents in the case must file responses between Wednesday and Saturday. So far, 8 petitions have been filed, including one from the main contender in the election, Raila Odinga. Also notable are 2 from activists Khalifa and Okiya Omtata. Odinga accuses Chebukati of compromising the electoral systems to favor his main competitor William Ruto, and that the results announced were not accurate. He specifically raises issue with the fact that Chebukati made the declaration, yet results from 27 constituencies had not been tallied, and the accompanying Forms 34A uploaded to facilitate public scrutiny. In all the petitions, the constant accusation leveled against the IEBC chairman was that he usurped the powers arrogated to the commission in the tallying of the presidential election and deliberately tallied, verified and announced the outcome without the input of fellow commissioners. Raila Odinga, the 4 IEBC commissioners who rejected the presidential results, and a number of petitioners have relied on the 2017 decision in the minor Kiai case, saying Chebukati ought to have involved all the commissioners in the tallying and verification of the final result before making the declaration.
The results of the presidential election held in August 9, 2022, declared and announced by Mr. Wafula Chebukati on August 15, 2022, belonged to himself and do not represent the declaration and announcement by Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. The Commission has to process the results before they are declared and announced by the chairperson.
Submissions by the IEBC set to address this matter. The bench expected to clarify the question of whether the responsibility to tally and verify results vested on the commission as a whole or only the chairman. In a statement released last week, Chebukati turned the tables on the dissenters, instead accusing them of attempting to coerce him to alter the results and indicate that none of the presidential candidates had secured the constitutional threshold to force a runoff. One of the main issues IEBC is expected to mount a defense on is the electoral technology deployed in the August 9th election. The question being, did it give whoever had control of it the upper hand to determine the outcome of the polls? In the words of Khalifa, the commission failed to secure its systems, making it vulnerable to infiltration and manipulation, and which compromised the outcome. The integrity of the voter register used in the election will also be on trial. Here, Khalifa cites the findings of the KPMG audit, which raised substantive questions, such as, were all duplicated voters weeded out? In their submission, which contains sections from the KPMG reports, they noted the finding of 481,711 duplicated registrations, noting that by the close of audit in June, 30%, translating to 144,674, had not been deactivated. A further 4,757 voters had been registered more than once, and only 24% of these had been deactivated. Also, KPMG flagged 164,269 voters who had invalid documentation, of which 89% had not been deactivated. The petitioner notes that the number of duplicated persons was enough to narrow the margin between the top 2 and possibly alter the numbers, negating the 50% plus 1 threshold. And though the arrest of the 3 Venezuelans found in possession of the election material had been swept under the carpet after the Inspector General of Police and the IEBC chairman casually stated that the matter had been resolved, it is set to make a comeback in court, with IEBC expected to lay down the facts on their role, since the issue raised credibility questions. The Commission will also be addressing the trust deficit it is facing following the split that struck it at the tail end of the election. Former Attorney General Professor Githu Muigai will lead IEBC's legal team, which comprises lawyers who have worked with the Commission in previous petitions. Chebukati, Citizen TV, Nairobi.